Howdy, folks. So I just wanted to show you my keys because I have kind of an unusual keychain. And yes, this is a CPU. And CPUs actually make really good keychains, surprisingly. And this one, basically I wanted to make a keychain quite a few years ago. I think it would have been about 3 years ago. And I wanted to use a Core 2 Duo 6700 or something. And my friend said, no, don't turn that into a keychain. So I traded him that for this, which is like an E1200 dual core Celeron. Because I'm turning it into a keychain. It doesn't matter what it is. It looks like exactly the same. So this is a socket 775 dual core processor from, I think, 2000. And you can actually still read what's on here. There is a date, 2005. So it's kind of old. But the really interesting story about this is the fact that this CPU, for about 6 months, still worked after I've made it into a keychain. And if you don't believe me, I do have some photographs, which I'll inset now, of me drilling it in and then actually booting it up. I actually booted Kubuntu. And just by judging by the Kubuntu splash screen, you can kind of realize how old, how long ago this kind of was. That was it happened to be the disk I had on hand. And I actually did it during lunch at work, so that's why it's I didn't take video or anything back then. But the reason why this still worked was because I strategically chose where I wanted to put the hole. I wanted to make sure that the hole was in far enough. I guess if you do this, make sure that the hole is in far enough that you get metal on the outer side of the key ring, because of course PCB material wears away pretty quickly, but the heat spreader won't. Now the heat spreader, even though it doesn't look like it is made of copper. A lot of people don't realize it. It looks like it's nickel and stuff because it's coated in nickel and possibly other stuff, but it is copper on the inside. So you can drill it relatively easily, and just make sure that I guess you do that. So that, of course, it's durable. And I've had this for about 3 years, and you can see all the corners have rounded themselves and everything. So it actually becomes, you think it's really sharp and everything, but it doesn't take long in your pocket to round itself out and actually become kind of nice to hold on to. But the reason why it survived, even with, all these pads and all their traces severed and everything, is because on the socket 775, if you actually look up the datasheet from Intel for this processor, you'll find that the socket is kind of divided into two halves on a diagonal like this. And everything on this half of the diagonal is pretty much data, and everything on this half is pretty much power. And this CPU only really has, I think, one core voltage, maybe two, but I think it's just one. So most of these pins are either power, VCC, or ground. And they're all they're all paralleled up together so that they can get the current necessary into the chip, because of course each of these pads can only supply a very, very tiny amount of current before it gets really hot and the losses get really, really poor. So that's why there's so many of them. But this isn't a high power CPU. So when I drilled the hole, I chose this corner because I'd only be breaking power and none of the data. And since there's still power left over, as long as this chip doesn't try to draw ridiculous wattage, it should still be able to function. And that's exactly what happened. Now you'll notice all the caps and resistors and stuff on the bottom are gone, and that was what ultimately killed the chip after about 6 months being in my pocket. The majority of those broke off, and it's now nice and smooth. There's absolutely nothing left, but it actually was missing a few components when it booted after the 6 month mark, but it lost a couple more, and that was it. It probably just didn't have enough decoupling at that point, and it failed. But it actually did work, which was kind of surprising even to me. Like when I first did it, the motherboard wouldn't power up, and it was because some of the copper had shorted between the pins. So I just got a file in there and sort of ground it out, and it's worked perfectly fine as a keychain. It hasn't the cap hasn't come off, and I'd really recommend doing this. A lot of people do it with the old Pentium like 133s and stuff, and I kind of don't like to destroy those kind of really nice old ones. But you can do it with any CPU, except for the ceramic ones, of course. The ceramic ones would not make a good CPU. They would probably shatter, and they definitely won't wear to be nice and smooth on the corners. The newer Intel LGAs are really nice because they don't have any pins, so they're pre-smooth for you. If you get an AMD, something that's like a PJ, you're going to have to get some side cutters and snip all of the pins off and then file it down so that it's not all rough. And I couldn't be bothered with that, so I'll use an LGA. But I don't know how long this thing's going to last, but I'll definitely find out. So yeah, if you want to get your geek cred on, you should use a CPU as your keychain. They make excellent keychains. So anyway, a little bit of a random video, but hopefully you liked it. Thanks for watching.